Herzlich willkommen zu unserer 47. Podcast-Ausgabe von Chat with Funky Space. Ja, ich heiße euch herzlich willkommen. Wir sind mittlerweile im Mai angekommen, in diesem Jahr 2026 und wie üblich neben mir sitzt meine liebe Kollegin Toni und mietet sich ein, wie ihr sicherlich über die Aufnahme hören könnt. Ich freue mich, dass wir uns wieder hier eingefunden haben, dass wir das dürfen. Immer mal wieder, nicht ganz so frequent wie im vergangenen Jahr. Und dieses Mal ist mir jetzt die Tage so zuvor gekommen, ich möchte die Frage auch an Milady etwas in einer veränderten Form stellen, in der Form von der relativitätstheoretischen, gedanklichen Seite her betrachtet. Die Relativität, die Zeit und Raum als ihre Elemente beschreibt, die sich im Berührungspunkt, ich sage mal hier, kreuzen und nicht nur berühren, sondern auch kreuzen und die Relativität, die dazu auch aussagt, dass alles gleichzeitig stattfindet. Sprich, sind das Ebenen in der gleichen Zeit, nur sehen wir sie und erleben wir sie über die Zeitachse, also über die Dauer. Und mit dieser Ausrichtung der Frage möchte ich an Milady heute gerne herantreten. Und ja, bin sehr gespannt, wann es denn soweit ist. Und sich da Space Radio, darf ich es auch manchmal nennen, wieder meldet und durch Milady spricht. Yeah.
Good afternoon in your world and good afternoon in our world. I have to say it like that and I have to speak it out like that and I have to go into something which is so unknown for you.
Oh yeah.
You have your physical forces in your world. Yeah. You have your biological forces in your world. You have your mathematical forces in your world. But everything is it's like a glue which is hitting all these things together, and it's also no clue which is just destabilization in all that. There is like, if you have a clue in something, you just can put everything together. If there is no clue, everything gets out into somewhere and you don't know where and what it does with it. So for example, in your world, going up to the space, you have no time, you have a different forces, you have no clue in all that, and you just lose. If you would just walk out into the space, out of your space shuttles, or how you call it, you would just be lost. There is nothing that can hold you back. And now the forces of frequency, and we talk many times about frequency, with the forces on what is your world. It is, the being being compact in a matrix, in a frequency which is unknown for you in the matter when it ends. You know it like it is right now, but when this forces ends, you don't know what happens in your world. You have the forces of earthquakes, you have the forces of gravity, which we talk many times, you have the forces, in your daily business, you have the attraction of something. But if such a forces gets in a destabilization, you don't know what it makes with you human beings and what it makes with the around, with or what it makes with the nature. We talked about that, what it makes with animals. Animals are listening to frequency. As soon as their frequency is changed, it's like when you change the volume in something, they just get lost. And the same thing happens also on planet Earth. Now, there was a time in your world, as a planet Earth, where there were so times of destabilization. You don't know it because you haven't been there as human beings, but the planet Earth had this frequency which destabilized. Excuse me, that word, you know what I mean. The destabilization was there. So now some regions in your world get into a destabilization of frequency. And we talked many times about what is frequency, what is time on your earth, why does it explain that an earthquake is somewhere on a place, and you have rumors in a completely different place which is far away from it. So you need to understand, it's not just the inner side of planet Earth, it's also the outside of planet Earth. And the forces which will be also on Earth and I know your question about it, but you need to understand the forces which are getting onto planet Earth. The force, it's like, you have a big elephant and just walking on planet Earth, with heavy forces. And these forces, this gravity gets into or makes also planet Earth. In some places, it gets I would say it gets like a big noise, and this noise is just exploding. So we talked once about the holes on planet Earth, in the Earth itself. You have places where the earth, the soil just goes away and you have holes. And places like that are in a destabilization with the outside of frequency and gravity.
In dieser Phase,
And it's not everywhere at the same time. It can be sometimes, on that place, and another time it's another place. And, you have just a knowledge of the weather conditions, of the earth conditions. You have, the physical forces, but you don't know the new gravity. And the new gravity has different forces. And now it changes also how the world looks like. It changes also where things are happening. But your question about the time, if things are getting in the in basically the same time, on the same levels everywhere, I need to say that what you call time in your world is the time which you know with the sun system. You are going with the sun system. That's how you regulate time. You have the day and you have the night and you have the forces, as we talked about, but we don't have the time or frequency, because frequency is something which is, let me say, it's a knowledge which is upcoming in the world, which is there, you know about it. You can describe frequency, but you don't live frequency, and you never lived frequency. So frequency can come, it's like having bad weather. And frequency levels are just coming, showing up, and you are explaining it in conditions of weather. And you are explaining the definition of what it's black and white, as we told many times, the definition of how the weather changes. And you are not expecting this kind of weather on that region. If you know the frequency, you can understand the frequency work which will get on Earth, which will be done on Earth, which will change planet Earth, which will just be on places where you can't imagine it. So it is the knowledge of frequency, but there is not like a handover for that, in your world.
Das geschieht permanent.
Yes, and it
in der Zeit.
Yes, exactly. And you need to understand this kind of, it is like a new tool to reorganize also things on your world, like weather conditions are not something you are putting satellites somewhere, and you think to explain conditions of frequency that way. Now imagine that frequency are also like pushing the satellite somewhere else, and they have not the same frequency to give you the information. What are you doing? And that's the problem which will occur also in the future. Through this gravity into the atmosphere, lots of informations will be not there how they should be. And you have already now, we talked also about that. That's also your question. Is it everywhere at the same time? Let me say the world, the planet Earth is a ball, is like a ball. So if you give a kick on a ball, it's never on the same place. So you kick it somewhere, but it doesn't, the ball moves, so planet Earth moves, but the output can be that you can make a goal, but it can be also not a goal.
Ja, es kann auch völlig aus dem Feld raus.
Exactly,
And Winkel nicht
exactly. And now you need to
erreicht
understand
habe.
planet Earth in this kind of frequency. You can kick planet Earth, but the output comes somewhere completely different. And we talk many times about frequency in the outside, in the atmosphere, and frequency in the human body. And that gets the destabilization of human bodies. You get, and you have it already, some kind of disease which are, you know, a destabilization of frequency, and you don't have a word for it.
Ja.
Like
Ja, richtig.
also right now starting into the African continent.
Yeah.
You don't have a word for it because you don't have medication, you didn't study it, because you never had this kind of changement in frequency around planet Earth, in the atmosphere, in the outside. You need to understand planet Earth is like a ball into it's like putting a planet Earth or this you have to imagine it, I have to explain it in pictures. You put this thing into a plastic bag and you put some water in it and you just move it, you know, from one side to the other. It moves inside, it changes. The water is still there. And but you don't have, you know, you can't describe if it moves now to the right, to the left, down or up and down, and you know, it moves. You understand it, that it moves, and that's what's happening with planet Earth. It moves, but the outside moves as well. And water is you see, you know that it's water, and you see that it's air, you see that it's atmosphere, but you don't have the knowledge about the frequency in the atmosphere. And this is what that's what you're thinking also. As human beings, the atmosphere is everywhere the same thing, and it must be everywhere the same thing, and it must be everywhere ongoing on the same reaction on something. And this is not the case. And that's something which will, let me say, implement new problems also on planet Earth, implement also problems in the what you have on your Earth, on satellites, and also in the moving of animals, in the transformation, how animals will act and react, and how also people are acting and reacting. The knowledge of this frequency implements a completely new, let me say, book of knowledge. What is planet Earth? What is the soil, what is air, what is fire, what are the elements, and how it goes up in the atmosphere, but what makes it also is human beings. Now, your question about time on it, it depends how I explain it now with the ball in the water. If we change, let me say, putting the balls northwards, it just changed the south, but also the east and the west. And you need to understand exactly, and that's what I need to understand to explain it that way. That you need to understand the forces in it, and the forces are unknown on planet Earth, even from scientists, because you never had this kind of. You have it on paper. You can imagine that it can move and turn and you
die
have
Grundkraft, meinen Sie?
Yes, but you
die
don't
ursprüngliche Kraft.
Yes, because the other the frequency power, the frequency knowledge, it's unknown as an I don't want to put it onto a scientific method or onto a scientific or give a scientific word for it. It is something which is unknown in the meaning how you live as people on planet Earth, as you live as community, as you live, you know it, you understand it.
In unserem
in
keinster Weise.
It's not in your vocabulary that you understand what that means.
Ja, and es gibt vielleicht eine gewisse mythologische oder Bildersprache, Entstehungsgeschichten, Märchen, sage ich mal.
Yes.
Aber es sind mehr Bilder, um diese Kraft zu beschreiben.
Yes, you don't,
aber wir bedenken es nirgends. In unserem Leben, in unserem Alltag.
Yes, you are
nicht.
Yes, because you are looking, you have astronomers in your world, and it's nothing with astrology, but astronomers. You have you understand, let me say, the atmosphere and the universe as something big, with stars, with planets. You see the changement. You can you write it down. You can make you are talking about the changements in the atmosphere. But do you understand the message of the changement? And this is something which is a big question mark for you down Earth.
Absolut, weil wir auch das sind unsere Maßeinheiten, mit denen wir vorangehen. Und das Bemessen, also das ist wie das vollkommen falsche Handwerkzeug. Wir können ja nicht eine andere Dimension über unsere eigenen Maßeinheiten bemessen.
Yes, and that's what we all also taught many times. It is like to understand frequency and to know frequency, you have completely different knowledge about your planet Earth, the people living on planet Earth, the forces, the four forces, what is going on that country, on that kind of sea, and you understand the movement different. So you have astronomers, which it's wonderful that you have it. But do they know frequency, as I told before? Do they know frequency, or do they have just, let me say, or they arrange a sentence or a knowledge that they believe that it could be this and this, but they don't have the certainty that it will be like that?
Ja,
because
sie können kombinieren, ich sag's mal so.
Yes, but the combination must not be true.
Exakt.
Yeah, and the combination is something which is also dangerous. If you're telling to somebody, let me give an example. If you're telling to a crew which wants to, because you are starting to fly to the moon, and we talked also about these flights to the moon, that there will be not what you are looking for. I need to say it again, because of this changement. It's not something that you can say we made it like that and it could be like that and it must go like that. It will just implement lots of problems, and these lots of problems are all this how you think and where do you think that all this material is flying to and going to, and where it comes to explosive, let me say, fire, let me say, because you are calculating it that way, and now it changes just a few frequency more or a few frequency less, and it just gets a completely different route. It's like you have your airplanes, and if you just change the route and you are not, don't get a clear on or a clear off to make something, you have a disaster. And this is what, also with frequency happens. You just think to put everything out in the atmosphere, and it will just be arranged, that it comes down that way, or it ends up in the sea, and it doesn't hurt people. But now the frequency are changing, and you don't have an excuse and a knowledge to know what it's going up, and things are not doing right and going right. How do you explain it to people? How do you explain it to countries? How do you explain it, when things are not working? And in all that, excuse me to say it and to interrupt you, in all that, you need to understand that time, you have the timetables in your world, you just put it in timetables. But now the timetables of this frequency work is not to understand it with the time you have on Earth. So if you think, well, it can just have a problem, or we can have a problem 1 month, through this frequency changement, it has completely a different timetable which is unknown for you.
Eben, und das meine ich bei Ihnen so zu hören. Also wir oder die Wissenschaft, auch die Astronomie, die beschäftigt sich mit ihren Annahmen, also Hypothesen, die sie teilweise aus unserer Perspektive ja auch bestätigen können.
Well, you need,
aber wir befinden uns immer noch in, ich sag mal, der Bubble von 360 Grad. Und was ist außerhalb dieser Bubble von den 360 Grad? Das ist ja ein Vielfaches, wenn ich es so mit einfachen Worten beschreiben darf. Und diese Dimensionen, jetzt sprechen Sie auch von veränderten Elementarkräften aufgrund der Frequenzveränderung.
And you need to understand that the dimensions are like melting together.
Genau.
And this melting together is an extremely dangerous procedure also out in the universe and also down Earth, because it changes also the movement, how water is working, how the Earth is working. So you need to understand it's like pushing something towards the planet Earth, and it gives like a hole, or it makes like, it gives just
wie eine Schallwelle, wenn man so will, eine enorm große, also überdimensioniert große, die wir uns gar nicht vorstellen können. Es hat eine Auswirkung.
Yes, and you need to understand, that's why I'm saying it, you need to understand the frequency, and you need to understand also where do they melt together, the melting points, and to understand when the melting points and when are coming melting points in the atmosphere to change also, let me say, life on Earth and also productivity on Earth. It's not that you say, well, just look up to the sun and there is a melting point and I just go to work and just do my work. It implements a changement also on planet Earth, that you have disturbance, and we talked about the frequency, we talked about the gravity, that all these points are also, and we talked also in what you are in with your artificial intelligence and with all your instruments and with all your technology, that you have fail outs for longer periods. So what are you doing? And if you have a fail out, and you can say, well, it's just on that country or on that continent, you have it many times at the same place. So it will lose, what you have built up.
Yeah. Yeah, ganz deutlich.
And it will lose, information. It will lose what you think that you will go on for the upcoming years. You need to understand that now the atmosphere is telling you persons in your world what is going on your planet, and not you as a person, not you as a community, not you as a society, not you as a government. You need to understand the forces of this frequency, gravity, of these melting points. And on your question, if exactly on melting points in the atmosphere, what does that mean for human beings?
Das heißt, im Augenblick, um es mal grob herunterzubrechen, sind wir eigentlich auf dem Holzweg.
Oh, yes.
Ja, danke, das wollte ich noch mal.
Excuse me to say it that way, but this intelligence of what you, that you understand that, you as human beings have a certain knowledge, and we always told about that. You need to go over that knowledge, and it's something, it's like Milady has I would really say this antenna out of talk working, well, not with the universe, but with the forces of frequency, understanding these frequencies, not understanding the mathematics on your world, because it's completely something different. And it has also an input on all your technology and technical instruments in your world. So, you are putting everything in technology right now, but there is, this melting point which just implements countries. You can't make an operation, you can't fly, everything which is made in technology will not work, so maybe now you can say, but we are human beings and we know everything. Well, just go on with it, but don't be surprised how are you doing? And this is a point which I need to say. How are you going on with producing food? How are you going on with, it's not just one point you have to look at it. You need to see it all over, and you don't have a plan for that. And what we are saying and telling you is just, there is more in the atmosphere as knowledge as you understand and want to know on Earth. And right now some people is interested, some people wants to know, but you will never have a government. And let me say very clear, there is no government knowing about it that way, and will never be, because you have not the intelligence to be into that, because your form of thinking how and what you want to do, it's not corresponding to the plan of the frequency. So just, if you think like that and you think, well, in that case we have plan A, in that case we have plan B, and in the other case we have plan C, just forget it. You don't have any clue and any plans, because it will not work like you want it. It's not on demand on your thinking. It is how it works for itself. Very, very clear.
Yeah, exactly.
So on your question about the time, it's everywhere, every time, somewhere not, and somewhere it will be more, and somewhere, in some places, it will be less or not at all. But not that you can define it, and not that you can say, well, so we just do this here, and we do this, that, and that's not the case. And that's an ongoing procedure for the upcoming year. So it's not that it's over about 1 month. It's an upcoming procedure which includes, and that's why we talked also many times about it, that the younger generation and the generation upcoming will just let me say no to technology how you have it today, because they will not get an input out of technology. So now you have also, and I need to say it and speak it out, you have lots of technology or your artificial intelligence, wonderful, but it will not work like you want it, and it will transform also a problem to a bigger problem. Or a problem to a non-problem, or a non-profit, because you want to make profit with artificial intelligence. So imagine that, that through these kind of forces, everything which is artificial intelligence is not working. So you don't have the workers and you don't have the artificial intelligence. So what's showing up, and you're not thinking that much, because for you it's like, now we are here, now it's now, and you are not seeing that the world around you, it's changing completely.
Das Universum.
Yes, and exactly. And we talked about that. What are you doing in your world if the problems are coming from the outside? We talked about that, because the outside is the atmosphere. You can't make war against the atmosphere.
Ja. Eben, Sie sprechen von dieser Gleichzeitigkeit, von der Zeitlosigkeit, von der Zeit in der Zeit. Ich möchte fast sagen, um es so für unsere weltliche Sprache ausdrücken zu können, von Parallelwelten, Parallelzeiten. Es ist Zeit und Raum. Sie sprechen sehr viel, sehr dezidiert von dem Verschmelzungspunkt. Und der ist ja nicht mit einem Schlag.
No, and there are more than one,
So
you know.
ist, ja, genau. Und es hat immer von dem einzelnen, sage ich mal, Ereignis eine Auswirkung auf das Ganze.
Yes.
Und umgekehrt.
Yes, exactly.
So.
And this is something which, you know, the life, you know, it's not making people afraid about something. We talk many times also. Yes, we talked, you know, because you are thinking that you can go on as human beings in your world as you have it now into more technology, and that technology is just doing what you want. You are thinking about that, but now technology through the let me say elevated frequency and changed gravity, it gets a new direction, and you don't know the new direction, and so it is like, well, you are putting everything into your world to understand it, to know it, to inform yourself into what you can, and the possibility that you have to inform yourself. You have your astronomers and all that, but it doesn't help to resolve also the upcoming problems. You need to understand it differently, and to understand also that it doesn't go the way you like to have it. And this is something, well, and also to understand that the world is not made for human beings to destroy it the way you want to destroy it, you know. It has its own intelligence, and we talked also many times about it. It has its own intelligence to say, it's like, you know, a cat and mouse. Play. A mouse knows when the cat is coming and wants or to play or kill it. And the atmosphere is doing the same thing, you know. The atmosphere is like acting on when it's like having also a skin to know if somebody wants to hurt, you know, a person or not, and to have this intelligence into it to transform. And that's what you don't know, you don't see, you don't want to know it, you don't want to. It's like you are ignoring this intelligence, and this intelligence has nothing to do with artificial intelligence. We always said the intelligence is something which is given through mathematics, given through what it is and what the world always was.
Ja, es ist dieses überdimensionale Empfinden von uns Menschen, dass wir heute dort sind, wo wir sind, mit unseren Entwicklungen, anhand auch von der Wissenschaft. Aber da drin geben wir uns gleichzeitig eine Limitierung und bedenken nicht und achten nicht, dass da noch ein Vielfaches, ein Mehrfaches weiter erhöhtes Bewusstsein da drin und darum
yes, exactly.
sich befindet. Und diese Qualität, da höre ich sie einfach immer wieder da. Wir haben die Chance, in diesen Verschmelzungspunkt, in den Berührungspunkt zu gehen, indem wir unser Bewusstsein dafür schulen. Über uns selbst.
Yes, but it is also...
Das Potenzial ist gegeben, nur ist die Frage...
Do you want it? Yes. And it is also something that it is too high for many brains in your world, and it doesn't matter to be a scientist or not, too high to understand the whole thing. You may understand the sentences which I'm telling you. You're a physician or a person or an astronomer understands it. Also, the mathematics, you can make like a counting on something, but to understand the message behind it, that's what you can't do it, because it's like your brain is just acting until a point and not over that point, and this over the point makes it so difficult to understand the whole thing. And this is it, and this is like giving an importance to the atmosphere, to what is going on in the world. What does it mean when somewhere, you have holes in your places? You stand up in the morning and you have holes and the whole streets and you don't understand it, And we always talk that, the forces are starting to, it was years and millions of years like that, but now you are starting to see it differently because people is living there. You have roads, and now nature is just saying, "Well, there we don't care if you have a road or a house over there. It's just a place where the forces comes down and it loads down the forces of the atmosphere, of the melting point." And and it's not one melting point. There are millions of melting points. And what it makes with people, with their electrical devices, what it makes for your daily life. And this is something which it's like a new, it's like a new chapter in your world to understand. Because I would say it's like astronomy and too, it's like something, it's an ongoing on what you know. And this is something which is unknown, still not, you maybe can think there is something out there, but you don't know what is out there. And now this out there, it's like out there too, which comes to your world to make it understandable for human beings. And it is, it's like you can't go to university to learn that because you don't know that it's existing that way. That's the problem. That's the fact. You don't understand. You don't. You know. Well, that could be. You know that when you have a little balloon and you just take something which has a very point. You point out to the balloon and it makes boom, and it goes and it explodes. You understand this reaction, but you don't understand the many reactions in something like that on your planet Earth, and what it makes with people, because it was never so far in your, let me say, human knowledge to understand that fact.
Ja, das ist noch spannend, dass Sie das so doch deutlich hervorbringen. Dass wir auch in unserer Entwicklung jetzt rein von den Menschen her uns so weit entfernt haben von unserem menschlich Sein. Nach außen, aber die Entwicklung persönlich auch nach innen gewendet. Haben wir in vielerlei Hinsicht auch wie verloren. Ich sag bis hin zu aus den Augen verloren. Also wir haben keine connection, keine Verbindung mehr hin.
It is like, I would describe it that way, that in your world you had many, or since you have TV, since you have, this knowledge of what you can show to human beings, you showed it that way, that everything which is out there must be, or, green people and with no ears or or long, I don't know, you just make a confusion on how you see and want to see it. You just describe it as something like abnormal. You describe, but you describe also, let me say, it could be also, how can I say it? You're looking, you're searching for people or water or something out there, but you are looking at the object. You're searching for objects. You're searching for something which is an object or which is physical there, where you can show there is something out there. But you never looked and you search for what is out there in frequency, and what is frequency and what change frequency for us humans. This is what you never looked at it. And this is something which starts now as a new, I don't want to say it's like fashion. You have fashion on your world, and it's like, yeah, we just talk, it's like having a new fashion product to introduce into your or onto your planet Earth and into your mind, that there is just a different knowledge. And there are young people, they want to understand, they want to know, because it's their life on Earth. Well, also elderly, they don't want to know because they are afraid. But it's nothing to be afraid. The world is a planet which elements, and these elements are working into it and with it and through it, and they are excuse me, I don't like that word, but there is a destabilization of places. And you understand it as exactly, which is like given through the information. But if you know the information, you know what kind of aspect and destabilization it makes on planet Earth. So you need to understand the in-between information. And this is something you don't learn at the university. You don't have to focus on that, because you can't understand that there is more knowledge that you have on Earth. And this is your problem. This is really a world community human being problem.
Ja, es ist weit entfernt von tieferem Sinn und einer Verbindung dorthin, sprich die eigentliche Heilung, die passiert durch diese Destabilisierung, also durch das Zusammenfallen, durch das Zerrütten. Wir haben kein Empfinden für das, was tiefer da drin
It is the essence. It is the essence of what is. A planet is not only a planet. You have a planetary system. The atmosphere is not only atmosphere, sky and stars and moon and the sun and other planets. You have a knowledge out there. You need to understand the knowledge to put it also into something that you can understand your life on Earth, because now the big problems are starting, because you didn't look at what tells us the universe, what tells us the atmosphere. I will have problems and catastrophic periods on places. If you would know it, you would never have done some things on some places, because now planet Earth is acting and reacting on this, on this information. And so it is like, because right now in your world you are really about or talking about how I could say it, about how you call it? You call it, let me say, about not flying too much, what goes out in the atmosphere, about the air and the elements of the dirt and the smoke and everything into the atmosphere, into the water. In general, yes. Also, yes, exactly. And the climate change. You're looking too much on climate change, but climate change changes also in the future. So you are, putting rules in some places on planet Earth. You think, well, we can reach this and this in this kind of year. But if you don't understand what it's still waiting, how you can reach something in some couples of years if you don't know what it's still coming up, because I don't like to say it that way, but your intelligence is just made until the point where you can reach an example which you can show and prove in black and white. And now there is coming much more which you can't prove in black and white. And this is so difficult to understand and to put into an order that you can say, well, this and this. And now through this new, fashion, which is just coming up down to earth, you start to understand. But I need to say, don't start to make business with it, because there is no business with it. You can't make business with the atmosphere. I'm sorry to say that very clear. because the human beings are always thinking in profit and business, there is no business with it. And so also countries which think to make business with it, just stop it, because if no, I don't want to say more on that, but just stop to make profit on something which is not, it doesn't belong to somebody.
Ja.
The atmosphere doesn't belong to somebody.
Also es geht
And you will, you're living on Earth. You want to have, and you want to have more, and you want to have more than more. And now, the atmosphere is saying, stop it here and stop it there, and we just do this and we do that. And the melting points is not something that you can make a list. I'm sorry to say, because when one melting point, and there are so many upcoming, when one is coming, the others are activated. And when the others are activated, more are coming and more are closing up, and so on. So there is no rule that when you had an acting of a melting point, that it stops there. So this is what I want to say. And we talked also many times about in the future, the new generation in the world needs and wants to know in the future where they can put seeds, that they have food. And we talked also about plant trees in your world. Plant trees. A tree gives you much more than you can think. And this is important. So you need to understand that life on Earth, as you had it until now, is what you grow, what you sowed, that you made, and what you pushed up, and what you sowed as enrichment for planet Earth. It will just it goes into the destabilization moments. It goes through destabilization moments. So look at you are just, let me say, as I want to say very clear, you're looking at natural people. You're looking at people which is living in the forest, like in the Amazon, as retarded in their knowledge. They know much more than you. I'm sorry to say it. They survive periods which you, as human beings, in many regions in the world, you couldn't survive, and you will not survive, because you don't know their elementary knowledge. You don't know their elementary knowledge to, let me say, to cope with the world, with the atmosphere, with planet Earth, with water. They understand every movement of something, but they will not tell you, because it's not in your intelligence, And you want, as I always say, you want to have everything in black and white. That's not a black and white thinking and having, booklets of, and in case of point A, we go to point B, and then in point B, we just go back to point A to just make this and reset that. Forget that. Planet Earth has its own rules and mathematics and frequency. And on your question, if everything goes the same time, because time is homemade. It's like it's homemade. Let me say it that way. Time is something homemade. You need to understand what it's out there, and everywhere on some spots in your world, you know that everywhere the planet has another consistence. Water, earth, mountain, the vegetation, the vegetation is something different. So you need to understand it is everywhere different, but you need to understand the in between. You need to understand. It's like having, I need to say it that way, you need to have a stair, an invisible stair to the knowledge from planet Earth, from the soil, from the internal side of planet Earth, of the soil, up to heaven, up to the, to the sky, up to other planets, to the stars, to understand all this knowledge in between. And you can't go to university that long that you understand everything and be a professor in that. It's impossible. Because there are millions of informations, and these millions of information, it's not something let me say, for a statistic that you can put in black and white. That's not the case.
Es ist ewig in Veränderung.
Yes, because
Denn
it
es ist im Leben.
It is life. It's
Prozess.
exactly. It's everywhere life, and it's not only life on Earth. It's everywhere life, and you need to understand it as a not only on a globally effect what it makes with the world, but you need to understand the atmospheric effect in all that. Yeah.
Als Sinnbild kommt mir da diese DNA,
which we talked also once.
Wirkung,
Yes.
Auch als Bild, wirklich als Bild, diese Verbindung zu dem ursprünglichen, auch die Information, die, ich sage mal, draufgespielt wurde, wird und werden wird. Also diese Veränderbarkeit eben in der Zeit, aber gleichzeitig in der Zeitlosigkeit.
Yes.
Und diese Öffnung, das meine ich bei Ihnen immer zu hören, dieses Open Up, diese Haltung, die wir lernen, ich möchte sagen, dürfen.
Yes, some people wants to learn, some people wants to know. There will be also many questions for it and with it and how and why it is like that, because you start to see the global effect of these changements, and you need to understand why it is like that. Right now you have lots of question mark. As a scientist, you have lots of question mark. You have question marks, and we talked also once, because the informations are given. If you get into this, you know, in one African countries, and will unfortunately goes also into more regions, you will have disease which are not, it's like you can cope it with diseases which you have already now on Earth. There will be other diseases because it affects frequency-based informations in the body. But if you don't know the frequency-based information, you don't know the frequency-based informatic, let me say, intolerances and illnesses of a human body. And that's the new energy and work also in frequency and medicine also in the future. But right now you don't have a clue for and with it, you know, you just say we don't know what it is.
Yeah. Richtig.
And that's the opening up also in medicine into the future and for also new generation, because they will just cope and need to cope also with completely different disease as you had until now.
Yeah.
And that's also the way that the world changes. So the world, and that's why we always said, you think that with your artificial intelligence or with your technology, you have the world into, let me say, into a PowerPoint that you can just go with it and for it and you know everything. That's not the case, because it will change now every time, everywhere. What was, what will not be, and what will be will just be different as what you know. So you need to understand it as a normal procedure for the world quality, for planet Earth, and for the planetary system in everything, because you're just really small as a human person. Your knowledge or your DNA is small, balanced in something which you just had the chance. It's like you had the chance to go for it for decades now, but now it changes.
Haben Sie uns als menschliches Spezies ein Fazit?
Well, you know that I know that you don't like when I just tell you or call you Stone Ages, because you know for you, but you understand that it is an old knowledge that you have on Earth, and you survive with this old knowledge. But now a new knowledge comes into action. I want to say into action. It's not that it gets into your mind, but it comes into action, that you need to understand that kind of knowledge. So this is what I can give and say to you. Yes. Yeah. So yes, let me say the genetic new code for something new on Earth, and it's not your artificial intelligence. It's not your technology that you think that it goes in that direction. And because I need to say it also clear, it also will delete lots of it will delete also lots of information that you had until now, and those informations will be not needed, because right now it's like you are learning, you are just searching and doing everything to make a plan A, but plan B is already there, but you don't have a clue that it is existing. But plan B will be the future, so you are just learning, doing, producing everything for plan A, and plan A is just let me say the past in a few years, and and everything goes quick now. That's what I want to say. So just don't put too much into something which will just be gone in 5 years. I'm sorry to say it that way.
Verständnis
yes.
ein geringer Zeithorizont ist, 5 Jahre.
And also humanity will change in that. I need to say, it's not. Yes, and
die erste Folge.
Yeah, for sure, because you are confronted with like a new kind of life as well, and this new kind of life is nothing for, excuse me to say it, for being corrupt in something, to think that you can be criminal in that, for something that you think that you can make money with it, for it is a knowledge which is like given to it's not like given to humanity, it's like it's the new source which you come into the world with this knowledge that what you have right now on earth, it's not needed like you expect it to be needed. And this is also a very big a wake-up call for you now and also then. Well, this is it is the aspect that you need to understand the whole thing. I always told that.
Das ist so. Ich danke Ihnen.
Thank you so much. Yes, I just thank you so much also for giving us a chance to tell you, your upcoming life and your upcoming, and you will have also good moments in all that, but you need to. It is like let go the old and welcome the new. It's like welcoming a new baby in your world, with a different knowledge and it is like now you're exhausted because you don't know how to confront this new situation with this new baby in your world. But it is something which you need to understand that it will just show up, and it will show up. Also to say, and it's necessary that you understand also the let go of the old. So that many old system what is an old system? That many things which you have right now on earth will not be there in 4 or 5 years. It will not work. It will just not come out. And it is the process starts now, or started already, but it goes into more and more and more, that you understand what's happening, because many people are not understanding what's happening. So you can't call the police if you don't know what's happening. They don't know either. You know what I mean? Excuse me to say it that way, but that you understand, you need to understand the whole thing. Well, I say thank you, my dear, and thank you for the talk today, and see and hear you next time. Bye-bye, my dear. Bye-bye, bye-bye.